So truck owners, I have some breaking news to share with you. Watch this video from start to finish and see if you are affected. But what I'm hoping is that this investigation will spark some sort of recall that will take care of your 877,000 pickup trucks on the road right now. The investigation applies to the 6.2 liter V8 L87 and specifically to the trucks and SUVs from Chevy, GMC, and Cadillac equipped with the engine from 2019 to 2024 model years. Previously, I made a YouTube video about the Allison 10-speed 1000 valve bodies causing the rear ends on these diesel trucks to lock up on them while they're driving. If you guys want to check that video out, I will leave that link in the description below. But this involves the gas 6.2 liters, and this is very concerning. What's actually causing this problem is the connecting rod bearing. It's failing and it's causing the engine to seize. It's literally locking up the engine and sending metal shards all through the engine oil system. And what that basically means is that the truck will need a full engine replacement, and anything that oil touches will need to be replaced as well, like the oil cooler lines, the engine oil cooler. And to you owners out there, if it's not fully covered, this is going to be extremely expensive. And before I dive deep into this topic, I wanted to give you guys a huge heads up. We're giving away a brand new SP Tools toolbox. If you plan on repairing or upgrading your vehicle, definitely check us out. Every $1 spent is one automatic entry in to win, and this contest ends March 3rd. And with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get right into this. GM has an engine problem on its hands. The automaker's 6.2 liter gasoline V8 is now under the magnifying glass. The NHTSA has launched a preliminary probe into over 870,000 GM vehicles. And the engine in question is formerly known as the L87 and branded as the Ecotec 3. It comes from the broader LS small block engine family. It delivers an impressive 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque, and it's a modern and complicated engine featuring variable valve timing, cylinder deactivation, and even a variable pressure oil pump. And this 6.2 liter, which is commonly known as the L86, it was first launched in 2019, and reports received by the NHTSA indicated that the L87 engines built from 2019 onwards are suffering bearing failure with major consequences. And the complaints indicate that the engines may seize or in extreme cases eject connecting rods through the engine block. And clearly this is no small problem. We're talking about the bottom end. It's not like you could just throw a software update at it. If this thing goes, it's very possible that your engine can lock up. And what does that mean to the driver, especially if you're doing highway speeds? And as I've been doing my research, I just want to reiterate that there has not been a recall that's been issued as of yet. It's just the fact that GM is now under investigation. But this affects a lot of vehicles, because if you think about it, and I don't want to over-exaggerate the number, but we're talking about almost 1 million vehicles. I want you guys to pay close attention to this. I'm going to read this complaint from November 2024, which really wasn't that long ago, as of this month that I'm posting, 2025 January. But listen to this. Our 2021 GMC Yukon XL for the third time has now shifted from drive to neutral and then turned off on us on the highway. The first time GM changed the motor at approximately 35,000 miles. The second time was about a month ago. We were at the White Mountains and it shut off on a highway. The third time was yesterday with 61,000 miles. My wife and I were driving in Massachusetts and I accelerated the vehicle, shifted from drive to neutral, and then shut off on me. This vehicle is not safe on all of these 3 occasions. I have been lucky not to be hit and have been the driver. And I gotta give GM credit, that's pretty cool that they replaced the motor in this guy's truck, but the fact that this happened twice after that, it raises a lot of eyebrows. Now, it doesn't take a genius to know that a sudden engine failure can leave you in a dangerous situation. The agency notes the severity of the problem and the inherent safety risk, explaining that failure of malfunction of the engine results in loss of motive power of the vehicle, which may lead to increased risk of a crash, resulting in injury or property damage. Thankfully, as of yet, no crashes, injuries, or fatalities are known to have occurred. And as it stands, the NHTSA has received 39 complaints regarding the matter, with submissions stretching back several years. Submissions to the agency indicate that the problems often tend to crop up suddenly without prior warning. And at best, some owners hear strange noises or ticking, or get a warning for low oil pressure as the engine seizes up. And in some cases, the issue has occurred in trucks with under 5,000 miles on the clock.
Did y'all hear that? Did you hear that? Bro, something is jacked up on my truck right now. Legit. 5,177 miles. But dude, it's ticking.
And that's with the NHTSA recording multiple cases of total engine failure under 20,000 miles. But then again, some vehicles have approached over 100,000 miles before failure. And here's a few other complaints I wanted to read to you guys. My first 6.2 liter swap was done at 4,400 miles, and it is now again as a replacement let go with 500 miles. That's crazy. And I babied both of them. First swap took almost a month. They've had it for 2 weeks again this time. I've replaced 5 6.2 liter L87 engines in the last year, all from main bearing failure. That says something right there. So obviously there's probably way more than 39 cases. And this guy says I'm doing a second engine on one now, 11,000 miles. First engine was 8,000 miles, laugh out loud, good luck. And then it says same here, I'm on my second engine on a brand new 2024 Silverado with a 6.2 liter. And this one is coming from Steve. Hi everyone. Have a 2022 Sierra 1500 Denali crew cab with a 6.2 in it. Had it since August 22nd, has 8,200 miles on it. Started with a slight engine rattle knock one evening. Did some research and thought it was lifters. Took it into the dealership very next morning. Driving there, it was starting to squeal and knock pretty loud, and the main bearing cover had grenaded. Totally replaced the engine, oil pump, and radiator. Said the last engine that they had to replace was a 5.3 liter, and it took them 4 months to get in. And I'm telling you guys, if you go on the internet, this is popping up everywhere. And some owners cite that their problems first became apparent when the vehicle suddenly shifted into neutral, only for them to later find the true issue to be major engine damage. And others have found that they were able to restart their vehicles after an initial loss of power, only for the problem to reoccur. Most cases, however, seem to involve a single sudden incident where the engine loses power and totally seizes up. In many cases, the engine has suddenly failed while owners are traveling at highway speeds, leaving them with zero power in dangerous situations. And another person stated that while traveling at highway speeds, the vehicle suddenly and without warning lost power. Upon pulling off the road, the engine would not restart, so the vehicle was towed to a dealership for repairs. While inspecting, dealership found internal engine bearing material in the oil indicating internal mechanical failure. This dealership states that they removed the engine, oil pan, number 1 and number 2 connecting rod, and found bearing spun, causing catastrophic engine failure. And this is a pretty interesting one right here. It says one owner was out camping when disaster struck. We were approximately 30 minutes out of town when the engine blew. We lost all electronics and had to drive off the side of the road. Their vehicle was towed to a dealer in Arizona and fitted with a new engine, only for lightning to strike twice. After 10 minutes of running, the new engine seized as well. The owner told NHTSA, "My vehicle has been down for 30 days and I still do not have it back." And at this stage, the root cause of this problem is unknown. Something is causing connecting rod bearing failures that are seizing up these engines. And of course, this is the exact question that everybody wants to know. Why are these bearings failing? What we do know is that some of the engines have failed at an incredibly low mileage, and some owners have suffered multiple failures after engine replacement. This would hint towards a design flaw rather than some minor or intermediate material or manufacturing issue. And without a full engineering analysis, it's impossible to say with any certainty what the cause could be at this stage. Nor is it clear how many vehicles are affected amongst the total population of over 870,000 vehicles with a 6.2 liter engine. GM has issued bulletins regarding the matter as published via TechLink. It's a platform for GM techs, and the document concerns investigating bearing damage in the L87 engines with a no crank condition. And this bulletin instructs the techs to look for bearing material and other metal debris in the oil filter. It also contains several images indicating what to look for when diagnosing bearing failure. Note the heavy scoring metal debris and the heat marks, all of which indicate bearing failure. So pay close attention to that picture right there. That's the picture that's on their GM TechLink bulletin, and that's what they're actually looking for. And in case of bearing failure, a total engine replacement is indicated. GM has also specified that it is important to fully replace other components in the lubrication circuit too. If the main bearing debris is sent through the oil galleries and other components that are in the lubrication circuit, which are very difficult to completely clean, it could lead to additional damage when installed on a new engine. When there is extensive damage, oil cooler line, and oil tank replacement ensures all debris is completely removed and that any bearing failure debris is not transferred into the new service engine. And this is coming from the GM TechLink. And if you own one of these trucks, I want you guys to pay close attention to this picture right here. This is the engine oil filter. If you pull this and you look in between those fins right there and you start seeing a bunch of metal debris, that pretty much spells game over for you. You're gonna have to replace that engine. And I really don't want to beat up the 6.2 liter engine, but it also has other issues as well, like lifter issues. It has plagued the model for some time, becoming a hot topic on owners' forums over the last few years. And some owners have talked about noisy lifters and even bent push rods, some of which failed after less than 20,000 miles. And GM also issued a bulletin regarding certain 2023 models that received engines with oversized lifter bores, mandating engine replacement for affected models. And these issues seem to be largely separate from the bearing failures now being investigated by the NHTSA, but are nonetheless another black mark against the L87 engine. In the times that we're living in, obviously supply is going to be a huge issue, and it appears that the failure could be common enough to cause supply problems for GM. And some stories of long waits are becoming increasingly common, but moving forward here, it's ultimately a difficult situation for GM and other customers alike. And at this stage, it's unclear whether the 6.2 liter engine has a fundamental design flaw or whether there's a manufacturing issue to play or something else entirely. Until the root cause of the problem is understood, GM can do little more than replace the engines and hope for the best. The fact that several owners have reported engines failing after replacement suggests that the issue is poorly understood. And look, I want to reiterate this. There's only been 39 cases reported to the NHTSA. But after doing a bunch of research, even I've been hearing some service writers and some service managers from other dealerships saying that across the board, customers have been coming in with their pickup trucks complaining about the same issue. And if you look at that 877,000 truck number right there, and you compare it to that 39 reports, there's clearly a bigger issue at hand. So the biggest concern is failure while you're driving. That's number one. Obviously, that's going to hurt you, the family that's in the vehicle with you, and of course the drivers around you, and it's going to cause property damage. But there's just two things that kind of concern me here. Obviously, that first one's the biggest one, but the fact that the dealerships are just installing brand new engines or used engines in these trucks. I don't even know if they're just doing junkyard pulls. I have no idea. But they're putting the same exact 6.2 liter in these trucks and hoping that it doesn't happen again. I'm sure after all of these complaints, the engineers are taking a look at the bearing design. Maybe they can come out with a new upgraded bearing that won't allow this to happen. They're talking about debris being introduced into the engine, which can cause this issue. I don't know if maybe there might be some excess debris in the engine that might be getting into the bearings. I don't know if maybe it's a cast issue, but as stated, it's a pretty big mark on the GM community. Again, I know I talked about the Allison 10-speed being an issue, but I would say this is more of an issue. And unfortunately, that's a big hit on the 6.6 liter gas, not to mention the 6.6 liter Duramax, guys. I posted a YouTube video prior to this, but it's the Allison recall. Basically, the valve bodies in these transmissions caused the rear end to lock up while people were driving. Not cool. And GM's response to that recall was that they were going to install a software in the system, in the ECM, to alert the driver before they have an issue, which, I mean, that's great, but why don't they just revamp the valve body so that doesn't happen again? There's kits out there. I'm not going to sit here and defend General Motors by no means, but if you look across the board, Toyota pickup trucks are having issues. Ford definitely is having issues. Dodge is having issues. It's across the board. 90% of my channel is me working on GM pickup trucks, so that's why I like to report some of this stuff to give you guys a heads up. I know a lot of you guys drive these pickup trucks, and again, I want you guys to let me know in the comments, drop it below, what vehicle you drive, are you affected? Again, it's not a recall, it's an investigation. I'm pretty sure it will be a recall eventually. But owners, let me know how your truck is doing. Let me know if you've had this issue already. What is your experience? Share it in the comments below. We all would love to read it. I'm sure this is a very, very small percentage of truck owners versus the 870,000 pickup trucks on the road. But at the end of the day, this is a huge heads up. I'm hoping that this will help somebody out. If you have found any value in this video whatsoever, hit that like button for me. I really would appreciate it. And of course, subscribe to the channel. If you do own a pickup truck and you plan to upgrade, check out my website, truckmasterdiesel.com. We sell a lot of stuff like lift kits, wheels, tires, turbos, intakes, manifolds, not to mention all of the YouTube merch like t-shirts, hats, key tags. And by the way, if you spend $1 on the website, that's going to get you one automatic entry in to win a brand new toolbox. We're running a contest until March 3rd, 2025. So definitely get entered in. I'll leave that link in the comments below as well as in the description. But with all of that being said, I am done talking. We'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned.